Hey folks, this is Anirudh. Welcome to my podcast Talk of Thought. In this episode, I got one and only Khalil Ullah Khan. He's a 21-year-old dude who is a freelancer, author, medical student, and a coach. And I know, right? Like, it sounds crazy. There's many things at 21, it is insane. And so does the story and the mindset of this gentleman. And in this podcast, we just didn't talk about money, but also a lot of other stuff. And I'm sure you will enjoy the show. It's going to start right about. Hey Khalil, welcome to the podcast, man. Been looking forward for this conversation for a long time.
Hey Anirudh, hey, thank you so much for having me, buddy.
Yeah, dude. Dude, I was just thinking how to get started because you've been doing a lot of stuff. Like, you're a freelancer, you're a medical student, and you wrote a book, How to Become a Freelance Writer. So I've been thinking like what to ask. So I thought, why don't we start the journey from the stage when it got started? So when did you start freelancing, or like what is your background before you started off?
Yeah, so basically I belong to Lahore. Basically, I live in Pakistan, Lahore, and from a relatively middle class family, I'd say. Not crazy rich, but not. We had all basic necessities in life. So that was something that kind of. I feel like people say, when people are talking about their life and all, they kind of make it sound like somehow every success story is like people coming from nothing, but I I think that's kind of like unfair to a lot of people. So I think we had a relatively okay life. All basic necessities were met, and so yeah, I went to a good school, got a good education, but I was always into like extracurriculars and all. So even in school, like I used to be in student politics, not like the sort of politics about going out on the road, but like we had a student council, and so I used to be president, or I used to be like the head boy or the deputy head boy or stuff like that. And so that's where it kind of what started me looking into kind of other avenues, except the contemporary education kind of mindset as well. So, by the time I was done with my matriculation, which I'm not sure if that's the same way in India as well, but I mean, 10th standard, once I was done with 10th standard. So, I had decided that I wanted to be a writer. And the realization really came to me at the time when I was just randomly reading a book, because I've never read like really fast, but I have read kind of all my life. And so I mean, I would read one book a month, but I would still try to make sure I'm reading. And so it's always been a hobby that I've kind of kept working on and building on. So it was something like I was reading a book, and I thought like, wow, this is so powerful, because I'm physically here, but mentally I'm like in another world, and that's really powerful. And so that influence, in a way, was something that I really admired, and I thought that I want to be able to do this. And so I decided I wanted to become a writer. So I mean, right now I am a freelance content writer. I'm a blogger as well, so I have my own blogs, and then I do YouTube as well. So I didn't know any of this at the time. I didn't even know freelancing exists. Like I didn't even, like, somebody came to me and said freelancing, I'd be like, I don't know what it means, but it's free, that I can tell you.
You just have to put your skill and time.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the basic thing that I was going after, becoming a writer. And so I started doing my own research, and I was like, okay, so I need to write a novel. And so I started writing a novel. And
what was that novel about?
The novel was like it was it's something that I'm actually really embarrassed about. So I've never really shown it to anyone, except like a few very close friends who were there at the time. But it's on the internet somewhere.
I'm gonna get it.
So, it is. It was like a very kind of weird gang slash really messed up kind of.
Dude, you were at your 10th. What do you expect?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a very weird story,
Yeah.
with people dying halfway through when the plot just randomly twists and changes to something completely different. But anyway,
Yeah.
spoiler alert for anyone who finds it and decides to read. So, yeah, so that's something that I wrote. It's over 60,000 words long, so that was like a
Dude.
lot of work. And I wrote one chapter every, you know, few days. So I was very consistent with it. Throughout like the summer vacations, we have 3-month summer vacations here in Lahore. So
Great, man.
in those 3 months, I wrote the whole thing from basically A to Z. And it ended up becoming like this 60,000 word novel. And I was like, okay, so what's the next step? Now I just have to publish it. And once I publish it, it'll be out there and I'll be a writer. And so I never really thought, to be honest, because this is the conventional way to think about it.
Yeah.
I never really thought I'd make any money out of it, because people were like, writers don't make money, which I mean is like right now where I am in life, I'm like, what even? But that was the conventional way to think about it.
Yeah.
Writers don't make money. And so I just wanted to do it for the sake of doing it. Like, it's a bucket list thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
To be able to publish a book. The book that I have right now, it's an ebook and it's like self-hosted, so anybody can download it absolutely for free. So it's not really a published book per se. So it's still something that is on my bucket list. So anyway, I decided to pitch it to publishers, and I did my research. I realized, okay, you have to kind of write this cover letter thingy, you have to send it to publishers, and then publishers will get back to you. And I was like, okay, so max a week or two. And it turns out the minimum amount of time they need is 3 months, and it can actually go up to 2 years.
Damn.
Like, the big publishers, like the Penguins and all,
Yeah.
like they take 2 years to get back to you. And that's absolutely insane. And then I started researching more about it and learning more about it, and I realized that you need an agent to be able to like even get into the doors with these big publishers. And although I did get like one opportunity where the publisher was like, all right, we'll publish the book, but you need to pay. So then I was like, then what's
The point of having a publisher.
the point of having you? Yeah. Why are you the publisher then? Like, what do you keep your
Yeah.
cut for? But so yeah, that wasn't going to work. But I realized at that point, I realized one thing, that the reason why most publishers weren't taking my book was because I was this random 17-year-old dude at the time. Not even 7. I think I was 16. Yeah, I was 16.
10th, dude. Yeah, I guess 16.
So, I mean, at that time, I was like, I'm 16. I'm not even 18 right now. So I literally had to write on the manuscripts that my parents have given me express permission to send this to you. Like, that was part of the whole process. And I was here in Lahore and they are there in the US. So it really doesn't make any sense. And plus, I don't bring anything to the table. In order to be able to market this thing, I need to create my own kind of personal brand
Yeah,
that is marketable, that people know me and they want to read the stuff that I create. And so whenever I reach out to publishers, they always ask this thing: how will you be able to help us market this book? And I thought that having a following was an essential part of it. So one thing led to another, because this is like way different than what I am today.
Yeah.
But I think what I ended up being is a lot better than that. Although, as I said, I have some bucket list things like publishing the book.
Yeah.
So, I mean, then I started to work on another project. I was like, okay, so I will create a website. And I haven't ever talked about this on any other podcast before, because the podcasts are usually like 20-30 minutes or something. So this is like, we have 1 hour.
We have unlimited time, dude. You can talk whatever you want to.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, so I need to create a personal brand.
Yeah.
So I created this website called, actually I haven't ever told the website as well. It's like an abandoned project. But I created this website called knowthatyoucan.com, which was supposed to be kind of like a motivational thing where I write about self-help sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So Know That You Can was that project, and I created that blog. That was the first website for which I actually bought hosting and a domain and all, and so there was investment
Oh.
into it.
At which time were you doing all this? Like
This
age?
was I think by now I was probably 18, or yeah, I'd say 18. I'm not really good with memory, to be honest, and remembering years, but
Okay.
I'm more or less around 18 by now.
Okay.
So this is the first time I bought like a domain and a hosting and all, and a lot of people were like, don't spend money. Like, what's the point of spending money? Why can't you just have a free website? I'm like, I need to do this properly. And so I bought the domain, bought the hosting,
Yeah.
and started writing self-help kind of posts. And it's no longer like I never continued with it. So the hosting and domain, they just expired. So I don't even know if the website exists anymore. Might just be that they converted it to like a WordPress domain. So it might be knowthatyoucan.wordpress.com anyway. So I wrote like three blog posts on it, and I literally put my heart and soul into the project, and it just didn't yield any results. Nobody got to it, nobody read it, and I was kind of sad because I was like, I'm putting in all this effort. I know I'm a good writer, because the very few people that are actually finding these blog posts could be like a friend or a friend of a friend. They do actually like it. They actually think it's pretty good, but it's just not reaching people. And so I was like, I've kind of hit a dead end. And I created a Facebook page, and I was like, okay, I'll get some fans on the Facebook page, and then those fans will go and read the blog. And I got like 2,500 likes or something on the page.
Oh.
And still like no traffic actually went over.
Dude, wait. Let me ask you a question. The 2,000 traffic that you got, were they like your friends, or people that you don't know also came to that page?
No. So by this time I was like, okay, so I what I can do is I can create the page, put some content on it, and then I can boost the post to some people. And so over here it's very easy to get likes through boosting a Facebook page. At least it used to be that way. I haven't been doing Facebook pages a lot anymore. I do have a Facebook page, but that's not like my primary focus. I usually focus on my private group. But at that time, at least, I think I didn't have to spend more than like a few ₹100 to get these likes.
Okay.
So they were really local, targeted, like the audience that is kind of here. So that worked out well for me, and I was like, okay, so now this audience will go and read my blog. But round about that time, if you've been into digital marketing, you'd know Facebook kind of changed its algorithm, and
Yeah, man.
and like it suddenly like moving traffic from Facebook to an external source it just ended overnight. You couldn't do it anymore. And so nobody, like, I had these couple thousand likes on the page, but nobody actually went and, like, when I say nobody, like actually nobody went and read it. And so, but by this time I had realized that I am a good writer, because I was going into competitions and all and participating there. And so I was in a lot of those competitions. I used to, most of those I didn't really win, but I would get sometimes like an honorable mention or something like that. And one or two I did secure some sort of a position. And so I was like, I know I'm a good writer. So I started another venture. I was like, I will create this Facebook page where I will write anything for anyone. Like whoever wants to come and wants anything written, just tell me, explain to me what you want written, and I'll write it. And even by now, I didn't really know a lot about freelancing. And so I was basically trying to emulate kind of this freelancer life and freelancer idea without actually knowing what it's called.
Okay.
And so a friend of mine saw it, and he was like, this is basically freelancing. This is what you call it. And if you want to do this, then you should, maybe join a few freelancing Facebook groups and even today there are dozens and dozens of freelancing Facebook groups that you can join, and they have like this whole community. Jobs are posted there. People ask questions. People bounce ideas.
Dude,
A
does
lot of
that
stuff.
work like in the groups? Because the competition would be more, right? Like many people would be applying for it and all that stuff. Like, does that help
Yeah,
to get?
that does actually work. That's where I started, and that's what I am teaching to pretty much anyone who comes to me. Because here's the thing, it works and it continues to work as long as you have kind of this basic understanding and some common sense of how people scam. And so the basic issue with these freelancing Facebook groups is that it is um like you can't really there's no security basically. So on freelancing websites like Fiverr or Upwork or Freelancer, like freelancer.com is not a good website. At least I haven't ever heard anything good about it. But Upwork or Fiverr or Guru, People Per Hour, all these freelancing websites, the major benefit that you get is that the platform is there for mediation. And so, there's some sort of security there. Although they will never back you as the freelancer and will always back the client because the client brings in the money. But still, there's some sort of security there. But with freelancing Facebook groups, the security isn't there. So you kind of have to make sure that you look after your own security. Security in terms of being paid.
Yeah.
Like somebody could get the work and could potentially not pay you.
Yeah.
And so I actually have a video on my channel which kind of highlights the three basic scams that people fall into when they start freelancing, and they pretty much cover everything. But overall, what you want to do is, number one, you want to make sure the profile is actually it looks like a real profile. And if it's not a real profile, if it's a fake profile, you'll know. Like, you should know. Like, dude, if you're like a young adult and on Facebook, you would know a fake profile when you see it.
That's true.
And that's the number one thing. The number two thing is you want to make sure that you are paid before you send the final draft.
Yeah.
So it could either be like an advance payment, or it could be that you send the work and then you send a screenshot of the work, not like the file. For example, if you have to send the Word file, you could send a screenshot, and the screenshot you could kind of like blur out the actual content and kind of encircle like this is the total word count that you requested. And so once you clear the payment, I'll send you the final Word file. And in my experience, that works fine. And I've been able to find some really amazing clients. In fact, I've found like not only local clients, but I found a lot of really amazing international clients. I found one in UK for whom I actually ended up becoming the content manager in his company. So I mean, that was like a big deal. So I found some really good ones and a lot of fine ones on Facebook. And the reason why I recommend it is because you kind of get this chance to be able to learn on a platform where people are not going to review you. So whenever you start, obviously you're starting with a new skill, and you are going to make your own mistakes, and you're eventually going to learn and grow from there. But the issue is that on a freelancing website, like let's say Upwork, I'm top rated on Upwork, and I've been top rated for over a year now. So like on Upwork, if somebody, once your work is done, once your job is completed, the client will give a review basically.
Okay.
And if you're just starting out and the review is messed up, that's the end of your profile basically. It's really hard to revive a very new profile that let's say you just had 2 jobs and one of them was 1 star and had a really bad review. It's going to be really hard to revive the profile now. And so what I say is, just make sure that you are done with like the learning phase of your work before you move on to these freelancing websites, because over here reviews are everything. And that's what I've been teaching to people. A lot of people have actually gone against that advice, and they have started directly from Upwork and directly from Fiverr, and they're doing good. Some of them are like level 2 sellers on Fiverr, some of them are like top rated on Upwork. So it's not like a hard and fast rule, but it's something that I would recommend anyways. So that's what was recommended to me as well when I joined Facebook groups. And so I discovered this new world, and it's weird because these groups had thousands and thousands of people. Like, even you could go and check it out. Like, there are
Dude, I'm been in those groups. I know how it goes.
you go in there and you're like, whoa.
Uh,
And they're talking about these, technical terms, because whenever you're starting out, you hear these
Yeah.
terms thrown at you: SEO, I don't know, web development and app
Do-
integration, and I'm like, what the hell is happening here?
Dude,
I don't understand.
even like we were for our company, we were trying to hire legal and accountants at that time. Like it is a profession, right? Even for that profession, when we put out the job like for interns, you know how many applications we got? We got like 200 applications for account and like legal, dude. Understand? Imagine, like for writers it goes even more, right? Because it's not like a profession. Anyone can be like a writer and like approach and they join the group. So I can understand the competition. And like when you join these pages, the competition would be the similar, right? Like same it would be.
Yeah. So basically, about the competition, I actually think, because you have actually posted your own job post, I'd like to know your review.
Yeah.
Actually, recently, I think it's been a couple of months since I posted a YouTube video, and it's titled something like "Facebook groups are easy money," and the idea is that you'll read the title and then you'll be enraged because you're like, no, they are not easy money.
I was enraged too. I saw that.
And then you'll watch the video, and then hopefully, like, I come up with stats and tell you why it's easier than, say, a freelancing website like Upwork or Fiverr. And so the basic idea is that on Facebook there are a lot of wannabes, and there's this kind of apparent fluff that you can see on the front, which kind of makes you feel scared that there are way too many people doing this. But actually, when it really comes down to people who are properly doing it, there are very few people. And so there's this process that whenever you are applying for a job, you have to send like a job proposal, and this is a complete art in itself on how to write a job proposal. On my channel there are like multiple videos just on this topics, like 10-15 minute videos just on this topic. In my premium course, we like have a dedicated module just for the job proposal itself. And so this is how important actually is. But what most people would do is, because they aren't really professionals, as you said, they would just message stuff like, hey, I can do this, or hey, do you still need a writer, or hey, should I send a sample? Or maybe they'll send a couple of samples in there, which are also another important part of applying to a job, but they never really wrote a proper job proposal. And so what you want to do is, you want to learn how to write a job proposal or a cover letter, whatever you want to call it. It's the same thing. You need to have samples, which is very important. And a lot of people are like, how will we have samples if we are beginners and we haven't ever done anything? Like, you can still write.
Yeah.
You just need to come up with a topic and write. That's pretty much it. Like, obviously you read blog posts as a person. You always read blog posts, right? Like, if you don't read blog posts, okay, you may have read something on the internet at any time. So you're basically supposed to just emulate something of the kind. It could basically be the same topic as the last blog post that you read.
Yeah.
But you need like a couple of samples to be able to send there. And then obviously the job proposal, with any past experience that you have. If you don't, that's okay. But I mean, you need to be able to think about, like, what can I say to this person that will increase my chances of getting hired? And if, say, you're like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, it could just simply be like, hey, I'm just starting out. All I want from you is to give me a chance, and I just want someone. I don't need a lot of money. You could even like work for free for the first time. That's okay, as long as it's a good opportunity and you want to build your portfolio and all. But you're like, hey, I charge really less as compared to the market because I'm just here to learn. And so what you will find in me is like a will to be able to learn, to grow from here, and pick up really small things that you're liking, that you're disliking, and to be able to work on it. And so this willingness and this adaptability kind of is something that a lot of employers are looking for, especially ones that, may not have that big a budget. So they may actually go with you. Yeah. And right now, like, if you're just starting out, all you need is, like, trust me, all you need is the first 1 or 2 jobs. The the first one or two people, once they take a chance on you, everything else will flow into place.
That's true, man.
So I mean, that is why I think like Facebook groups, they are apparently really, full to the brim, actually overflowing kind of. But in fact, like in the video as well, I mentioned that I actually got over 100 respondents to the job post, and only 10 of those probably actually wrote a proper job proposal and sent some samples and all. And so I actually come up with numbers and all. So it's actually just 10 people, although it looks a lot more. It's actually just 10 people.
Yeah.
And if you're able to, it doesn't even matter if you write a really crappy job proposal or really crappy samples. If like just the fact that you wrote it puts you in the top 10. So that says something.
Dude, okay, let's talk about this after some time. And what I want to talk actually is that how did you initially get the job proposal, or who was your first client? Let's get along with the story, and then we will talk about the freelance stuff. We got carried away, dude.
We kind of went on a detour, and we were like, oh, okay, let's just
yeah. No, the reason is I wanted to talk about this mainly, like at last I just thought of like summarizing if you're just starting off how the procedure would look like, and at that time I wanted to copy. And even I had something to talk about the job proposals, what you told and the way we hired, and what you told right now, that when you write someone, like you're starting out and you have will and passion, startups will guarantee hire. Because I've been working at like 3 different startups, and all of us sees this, the zeal and passion. So we'll come to
exactly, this zeal and passion goes a very long way. I've had like, and it's not just like you'll be stuck with an employer that's not paying you or is paying you very less. Like people who know how to manage people will scale you with them.
Dude,
so that is a very important thing to consider as well.
I even have an exciting story for this, dude. Like something that you just told right now, the scaling. I will tell you about this story with my friend, what happened. So like, let's come with your story. Like, how did you initially get along with the Facebook group? What is about you?
All right. So I joined these Facebook groups, and so I didn't know. Like I was reading these posts and I was like, I don't even know what half of this means actually. And I came up with this solution. The solution was that I will just, I'll read the post, and the words that I don't understand, I'll try to Google them and kind of get an idea of what they mean. But if I can't, I will just ignore them, to be honest. I'll just be like, this doesn't exist. And after mentally deleting that word, if the post still makes sense to me, I will just apply. Right? Okay. And if the guy asks me, hey, do you know about this? I'll be like, I don't. And again, I'm willing to learn. I don't, but if you tell me, I'm a quick learner, I'll learn, I'll adapt, and I'll try to make sure that I put the best product out there. Right? So that was my strategy. And so a lot of these posts didn't make sense to me, but I actually this house that we're living in right now, at that time it was under construction, and so I was supposed to be here and watch over the stuff that was like pretty much like open here, and so kind of like I was safekeeping stuff. So I had to be here from the morning till like the evening. And I decided, all right, today is a fantastic day to not give a damn and just keep applying to jobs, because I basically had nothing to do, because as I said, we were kind of there was some construction happening. We were also kind of in the middle of shifting and all. And so it was a complete mess. There was no TV, no Wi-Fi, no nothing basically. So all I had was like my phone and 4G. And so obviously with so many hours with me, I decided let's put them to good use. So I started applying on these jobs, on as many as I could. And I think by the evening I had applied to like 20 jobs, at least, probably more, but at least 20 jobs I had applied to. And so a couple of people replied, some of them replied with like, thanks for applying, but we found someone better for this. And I was like, that's cool. And then I found one guy who was basically who gave me a very small task for a few hundred rupees, or maybe like I think 1,000 rupees or something. And I did it. I didn't even know that I was supposed to write it in like a Word document and send the Word document over. So I just opened the notepad in my phone and I wrote it down in the phone because I didn't have anything to write it on, as I said. So I just wrote it in the phone and I messaged the note to him on Facebook. It was on Facebook Messenger, so I just wrote it on my phone and sent it as a message. But the guy was nice, and he told me that the writing is really good, and then he eventually went on to give me some guidance, and he also gave me a bit more work. But like the confidence was starting to pile up. Like I knew that, you know, I had just found something that could potentially, even by this time I never knew that I could actually make a very good living out of this. I was like, I could at least make like enough to be able to, you know, buy some samosas.
Your pocket money. Yeah. It's like a pocket money, right?
yeah, basically. But I was like, you know, it's pocket money, some chai, some samosas, and that'll be it. Little did I know though.
You could buy a sweet shop now.
Yeah, I could buy a sweet shop now, exactly. So yeah, so how it went was like, I started finding more people then and started learning more stuff. So it's just about, you know, kind of getting into the groove.
Yeah.
A lot of people even today ask me and give me this kind of weird logic that we're trying to learn everything, and once we have learned, then we'll start applying on jobs. And that is basically just your mind putting you in, making sure you're in your comfort zone, that you don't have to go out there and put yourself out there and actually apply to 20 jobs and get rejected by 19 of them and maybe hear back from one. And you know, I'm lucky I heard back from the 20th. Maybe I would have to go on for another 20 or another 20 or I know people who applied to 40 job posts before they got to hear back from any one of them. But once they did, that was just, it kind of opens the floodgates and all. So that is what I recommend them as well. That you know, throughout the story you'd actually realize that I was trying stuff. That's the whole point of it. That I was trying stuff and most of it didn't stick. I'll be honest with you, most of it didn't stick. And yeah, maybe I spent like a few thousand rupees and wasted them, but I got a lot of experience. I started learning not just what works, but also what doesn't work. And so this thing that I told you about the Facebook algorithm, that it's not possible to now move traffic from Facebook to an external source. I learned it the hard way. So now whenever somebody talks about creating a Facebook page and then moving the traffic away, I tell them no, that won't work.
It changes for every damn 3 months.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird. I don't really like Facebook, to be honest. It's a crappy place to do business.
Dude, it's like crazy, man. The Facebook ad campaigns and Facebook ads, the money gets blocked, the customer service is not that good. You have to be really experienced. Facebook is a really hot spot.
Like people are on the note of like Facebook ads, a lot of content writers then transition to doing Facebook ads, like writing the copy and managing the Facebook ads as well. I actually know someone who's a Facebook ad expert, and she gets a lot of clients from that. Like businesses come to her for managing basically their complete ad system and all. So that's actually something that somebody could look into as well. But as I said, you need to start somewhere. So and it's important not to overthink the process. So I think that's something that worked out well for me, that I just went into it and stuff just started making sense.
So after you got like the $100, the 1,000, that's what you told, that the first client that you got, how did you build up on the portfolio? Like you used to apply daily, stuff like that?
So at that time, actually, I didn't know a lot about portfolios, and like even right now, I feel like I'm the only Desi who's talking about portfolios right now, like a proper portfolio website. Because I don't know, man, people aren't into making proper portfolios, and I then learned a lot, worked with people from this part of the world, from the US, UK, Canada, Australia, like from all over the world. Hong
Weren't
Kong
you
as well.
intimidated at that time when you were talking to?
This was like after a long time. I didn't just start off by working with these people. I worked with like locals for I think 6-7 months before I got my first US client.
Oh.
And even that US client didn't pay me a lot, but it was still like, the first time I was being paid in dollars.
So how did you get the first client in US, by the way?
From Facebook.
On Facebook.
From Facebook.
You can't bitch about Facebook, dude. You don't deserve. You got a lot from there.
From Facebook. He had posted a job post. There, if you actually do it right, you'll notice that a lot of Facebook groups just have local, for example, Indian or Pakistani people. But a lot of Facebook groups actually are geared more towards people from from a stronger economy, and you won't actually find those groups from the same keywords. You'll have to kind of search a bit differently. To be honest, this is something that I actually learned over time. If you search for content writers and go into the groups tab, you'll find content writing groups, and they are huge groups and they are great. Everybody should join them if you're into content writing. But you won't find a lot of groups that have like US based people and stuff like that. But if you search for keywords like remote work or work from home, somehow groups will start to pop up with people from that part of the world, which is weird. I'm not sure why that is so, but it just is what it is. So I found a few of these people from these Facebook groups where these, kind of native English speakers were hanging out.
Okay.
But I mean, that wasn't like until 6 or 7 months. For the next 6 or 7 months, my whole focus was like, okay, I need to learn. I didn't know about portfolios by then, but like my idea was that I need to create good enough samples, right? So that's kind of the basic form of a portfolio, that I can send these samples that this is the sort of work that I do. And so I started focusing a lot on my writing, working with more people, with a wide array of people, and pretty much taking every opportunity, basically every paid opportunity at least, that I could find. And so slowly I started to improve, I started to learn, I started to get exposed to a lot of people who were doing better than me. And I used to send my stuff to seniors and would ask for a review or a critique, and they'd tell me that this, and by the end of it I would ask them, could you rate my work? And one of them literally said 5 out of 10, and another one said 6 out of 10, and I thought I was good. By this time I thought I was good, but when he edited my work, I was like, wow. I mean, there is a reason this guy is making this amount of money, because I started to notice like half of what I'm writing is just fluff. And so I started working on that and improving on the craft. So it took me 6-7 months for that. And I didn't make a lot of money during the time. I would probably say somewhere around Pakistani 10,000, probably 5-10,000. So that's even lesser in India. But I was improving on my craft.
Okay. How did you improve? Like, what was the procedure? Can I know?
There for writing, there is no procedure except writing.
Okay.
It's like it's kind of like a culmination of two things. Number one, writing, and then number two, like observing. All good writers are good observers. You will notice that in your life as well. All good writers are good observers, especially when those that write fiction, because they have to describe stuff. They're very good with observing stuff. And I learned this from my fiction days when I wrote that novel. I used to notice people, and because I like to add some small quirks in characters and all, and so I would like look at people and be like, oh, he does this thing which he does subconsciously, and he probably doesn't even realize he does it, and I would add that quirk into the character. And so I started becoming good at observation during that time. And so when I started doing freelance writing, that's not fiction, that's basically non-fiction. You're always writing about info-based stuff. So it's vastly different from what I was doing before, but the observation stayed because I was observing what are native writers doing. Why does native writing sound native? And why doesn't my writing sound native? And why does this guy, why is he able to write so much better than me when like I'm using pretty much like I'm using a good vocabulary, it has good flow, but it just somehow isn't as good as this guy. And so that observation, those small, little things that you start to observe and then work on, and then it's just practice, to be honest. By now I think edited well over 500, 600 articles.
Yeah.
I've written like 100 or so. So I mean, when you put in the work, there's really no formula, to be honest. The formula is just put in the work.
Okay.
So that's what I did for the next 6-7 months, and then I found my first US based client, and that client was like, he wanted me to write ebooks. So I was ghost writing ebooks. The good thing about it was that I got big projects. And so in freelancing, this is a big problem, that people have to go through this feast or famine cycle where at some point in the year they may have a lot of work, so much work that they actually have to decline offers, and
Yeah.
then some other time they won't have any work. So it's like the feast or famine cycle. So what that did was that provided stability, because if somebody said, all right, Khalil, you're supposed to write this ebook, so that's basically the next 2 months for me. I don't have to find anything else for the next 2 months, and I can just focus on writing the book.
Oh.
And that's what I did, and I wrote like 2 or 3 books for him.
Oh my God. What was that book about?
It was a self-help book. By this time, my safe corner was self-help, because as I said, I was like 18 or something.
Yeah.
So not a lot of experience, not a lot of expertise in anything. And so self-help was that safe corner where you could talk about anything without having to, have some background knowledge about it.
That's true.
So that was like a self-help book. I wrote 3 for him, 2 or 3, and then I started to realize that it's kind of heartbreaking when you've written a book and it's published. As I told you, like, that was my dream. Like, I wanted to publish a book, and I've written a book and it's published, and it has these glowing reviews on Amazon about people writing, like people in the reviews saying stuff like it's beautifully written and stuff like that, and I am legally bound to not say that this is me. So you have to like sign NDAs, and NDAs is basically
non-disclosure agreement. Yeah.
Right, for the viewers, because they may not know what an NDA is. So that basically means you can't tell anyone that you worked on this project or that this project even exists. That is none of your concern. So I stopped writing those ebooks then, but then opportunities started popping up, and then I found another client who had a company in the USA. He was local in Pakistan, but he had a company in the USA, and he had dozens of blogs, and he hired me for one of those blogs as a writer. And so this was kind of like my breakthrough moment when he hired me as a writer, and I always believe in giving 110%. And so I didn't just write. First of all, I made sure that whatever I'm writing, the content that I'm writing, the blog posts that I'm writing are top notch, better than whatever he has. But I went above and beyond and actually started giving him recommendation and advice as a writer on the content that he already had on the website. I was very upfront about it, that hey, I haven't ever done a blog, so you probably know a lot more than me about the technical aspects, but I'm a writer. I'm just going to be reviewing this as a writer. This blog post that I found on your website, this doesn't really make sense to me. I think if we could do this way, that would be better. And I'm not expecting him to pay me anything for this. This is just me giving advice to a person who has hired me as per my own understanding. And the guy was so impressed because
Yeah.
nobody does that, right? And you being a company, like you are part of a company and all, you would know that if somebody comes and does this, it's like you start to see them differently.
Yeah.
And even though I was still like 18 or something, he got really impressed, and then he eventually said, I want to have a phone call with you. And this was the first time I actually had a phone call with a client, and it was scary because we millennials aren't very good with phone calls.
Dude,
We
trust me. it freaks me out. Because it's like that call can actually mess the whole project or stuff like that.
Exactly. It can mess it up, and it's weird that at times you don't know what to say. It's not like it's not like you're dumbfounded at the moment.
Yeah.
You just can't seem to find the right sentence to say at the
Yeah.
time. And then there's this awkward pause, and then it just goes downhill from there.
Yeah.
But that was the first time I had a call with a client. I've actually learned to enjoy these calls now that I've had many.
Okay.
But I mean, it was a very weird experience for the call. I was super scared, but anyhow, he was like, I may come to regret this decision after a while because you are very young. He asked me about my age, what am I doing, and I told him, I'm in FSC second year, which was basically that is intermediate, that is 12th standard basically.
Oh my god. Dude, like in 12th standard, you're taking clients, you're doing this work. So did you have time for study? Like what did you do? Like how did you manage both of them?
See, the thing is, I am actually a firm believer of the fact that a lot of us think we are a lot busier than we actually are. This is what I've noticed in myself as well. That I would think I'm busy because I just have that notion about myself. But if I actually sit down and think about, all right, I'm going to track what am I doing today, how much time am I spending on the activities that I do, and I'm just going to write them down, all right? So, I mean, once you start becoming conscious about it, you may alter it subconsciously. But still, so you would realize that, say you study, 3 hours a day. You sleep 8 hours a day. That is 11 hours.
Yeah.
You play sports for like a couple of hours, 13 hours. You eat, you have some entertainment, a couple more hours. How much is this? Is that 15?
Yeah, like easily 16 hours will just get covered
Like
in all this.
15, 16.
Yeah.
Let's say you need 6 more hours for something else. Right? So you still have 2 hours in the day. And this is literally just you pushing 6 hours away for nothing, basically. And so you still have 2 hours left. So, I mean, when you start looking at it that way, it like right now we're jumping from different timelines now, and we're at the present right now. So, I am an MBBS student right now.
Oh.
I also do YouTube. I also have a freelancing business, which like by now is huge. I have to run blogs as well.
Yeah.
And in between all of this, I kind of manage some social media as well. So,
And what is your age?
I'm 21.
Yeah, and 21 and you're doing all this stuff.
Yeah, it's weird when you think about it like that,
Yeah.
because I never expected I would when I was 18 or something. But it's like for people it's weird because they're like, this guy's 21 and he's doing this. But for me, it's kind of like a transition that I saw every day of.
Yeah.
And so I love that people are surprised at times. But I'm actually glad that it is what it is.
Yeah. Who told Elon Musk is there? Here, this is Khalil, who is being more productive than him.
A lot of people are also like, why don't you make productivity content and all? I'm like, I don't want to mess with people's head. Like what works with me works. Like what works for me works for me, right?
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't want anyone I'm not saying this is easy.
Yeah.
For anyone who's watching this and is like, okay, so he's saying that you can then spend 2 hours a day doing freelancing or something. This was a very mathematical breakdown of the day.
Yeah.
Actual days never actually work that way. You obviously have other things to do. You have school, say.
Yeah.
6 hours for that. The 6 hours I put aside for nothing were 6 hours for school. So then you have 2 hours,
Yeah.
right? So for every person, this would be different. For a person who doesn't have a job, those 6 hours are basically just free.
Yeah.
So you could actually work like 8 hours.
So
So
at that,
person to person,
yeah. No, I was just talking that at the time you was client that you told and you were doing this. So what was his reply? Dude, I was actually very into the story. You got
he
cut.
was, I remember him saying. I remember him saying this. अच्छा तो तुम पढ़ाकू बच्चे हो. I told him I told him I was in pre-med. So because he was like, what do you study and all? I told him I'm in FSC, and he's like, okay, what sort of FSC? Because there are like a couple of different things you could do in FSC. And I said, I'm a pre-med student. He was like, अच्छा doctor बनोगे, पढ़ाकू बच्चे हो. I remember him saying that. So just the fact that he's calling me a bacha, you can imagine.
Yeah. हाँ मैं पढ़ाकू बच्चा हूँ.
Exactly. So I was like, a bit disconcerting as well, but you kind of, it's also an honor in a way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he was like, I may regret this in the future, but I want to give you this chance to be able to become a manager.
Whoa.
And what that worked like was he, as I said, had multiple blogs, and for each blog he would have one manager. So it's not like I was manager of the company per se. I was manager of one website that I was previously writing for, for which I gave him advice. And this is for everyone watching and who's like, I'm stuck. This is how you grow. And I haven't just done this for one person. I've been doing this for many people. Right now, where I'm the content manager, this is exactly how I did it. I gave free advice for no apparent reason. It's important to judge whether this person is actually receptive to the advice that I'm giving. But if you actually find a person who's receptive and it's like, hey, I'm open to some positive critique here that can help me improve my business, because at the end of the day, who doesn't want more business?
That's true.
That's what businesses want.
Yeah, dude. Like, I was also hired as an intern at a company. It was basically the food-based company. So when I was talking to them, I just told them this advice. It was completely out of blue. I was hired as a social media intern. And at the end of the day, what I told them was, we can actually tap in the societies, or we can actually do the work of an Amazon. We can share the what is it called, hampers, with a lesser rate of commission, and then we affiliated. It's based on Bombay, and we affiliated with everyone. And basically, they told me that they really like my part, and they told that you can be a strategic manager of my company. And they told from like next year they will be paying too. So like I was like, cool, dude. It was
that's like a very good example of it.
Yeah.
Because again, you said what you said off of the limited experience that you had in whatever you did. It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be something you read in like these books that are at the back. It's just something that you came up with, like strategy. You don't learn strategy anywhere. You just come up with it. So find this confidence in yourself to come up to a businessman or a businesswoman and just tell them, this is an idea that I have that I think could help you improve your business. Every logical business person would love you for that.
Yeah. Who doesn't want ideas?
Exactly. Who doesn't want good ideas?
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you came up with this idea, and it's like, affiliate marketing is big, so you're kind of creating your own affiliate network and all the hampers and everything. So I can see, as a person who does online business, that this is actually a very good idea, the one that you've pitched. So I'm sure anyone with a good business mind would as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is how I got that management gig, and so that was kind of the turning point. All the stuff that I had been learning up till now the effort that I'm putting in up till now, it culminated into this point where now I'm the content manager for a company in the US, and I'm 18. Everybody in the team that I was managing was in at least their 20s. So like the youngest guy except me was 22. We later I actually hired myself because I was in charge of the hiring process as well, partially in charge of the hiring process. So I ended up hiring another 16-year-old who actually went on to do amazing things as well. So that was after I was into the team. But when I joined, the youngest one was like me, and then there's this 22-year-old guy. There are 26, 7, 8-year-old people, and like a few 40-year-olds. So that was a very, very interesting time for me, because when you go into this ecosystem of a company, it's not just about the work that you're doing, but you need to be able to gel with the team as well. You need to be able to, people should look up to you as a manager if you're a manager. If you're not able to do that, you can't be a manager, right?
That's true.
And so it brought with it new challenges where how can I, an 18-year-old, make this 40-year-old feel like I am his manager? It's not like you need to assert something. It's just that you need to be able to carry yourself in a way that it appears to be of a manner that a manager would.
That's
so I started to be really professional. I always had this ability to be professional with people, but I started to really hone down on those skills of talking to people, of how do I as you said, like the calling experience and everything, like when you start, it's gonna be bad, but the only way it's gonna get better is when you start doing more of it. And same goes for every people skill in the world. You just gotta put in the work. You just gotta, like, repetition is everything for any skill.
That's true.
So I started working on these skills, and especially it's a weird thing because you have to do a lot of things as a manager that you wouldn't ever anytime else. Like I didn't start to, but I obviously had to fire people as well. And again, like as an 18-year-old guy who has to fire a person,
it's the toughest.
Even that is tough. Like even for a 25-year-old, a 30-year-old, a 35-year-old, that is difficult.
Yeah, man.
And so I learned a lot of things. A lot of people, like the company owner, the CEO, he wanted to fire, and I would take a stand for them. A few of those I thought I did right for, and a few of those I ended up regretting. So I made my fair share of mistakes, because here's the thing, everybody's gonna make mistakes, and so did I. And the person who's the CEO probably has a lot more experience than me, and he saw something that I didn't see. And so I a lot of times I would put myself in this weird place where the CEO thinks something's wrong. For example, this content writer, this writer isn't writing her own work, for example, and the CEO is like, I think something's wrong. I'll give you an example actually. Same thing happened. There was this writer, and I read her work, and I was like, this doesn't sound like her writing. And so we had this very strict policy of not outsourcing your work ahead. Like if Anirudh is supposed to do the work, he is supposed to do it. And if he doesn't have the time to do it, just tell us. We won't burden you with work that you can't do. But at least the work that we're giving you, you are supposed to do it. And so I was like, I don't have any solid proof. I went to the CEO and I was like, I don't have any solid proof, but I think that she isn't writing her own work because the flow, the style, nothing matches with whatever she's been writing. And we obviously had some company requirements as well of how we want to structure the writing, and it wasn't following that. And that was strange because she had been with us for like a year or something, like many months by the time. It doesn't make any sense that she wouldn't be able to follow all these requirements when she has been doing that for many months before. And so I just told him that this is something that I think, and right off the bat he was like, fire her. And I'm like, dude, I'm just letting you know that this is something that I think may be the case. And he's like, doesn't matter. Let her go. We can, like in freelancing, we can never really be sure because nobody's sitting there and doing the work. So you're doing the work somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so these signals with experience, obviously, whatever he saw, and then he just didn't want to take the risk. I don't know. And he was like, just let her go. And I took a stand for her, and I actually ended up regretting it because she was actually not doing her work herself. She was plagiarizing stuff. She was doing a lot of things that shouldn't have been done. And I actually ended up taking a stand for it. I'm not saying that I did the wrong thing, but in hindsight, I think I would deal with it very differently now, and I would never go to the CEO with a very a matter that hasn't matured yet.
Okay.
Like, you need to be able to take stand, let things mature before you take them to an authority.
What do you mean is tell that person well before
Yeah.
or something like that?
Like, what I mean is that there were a number of ways in which I could actually make sure that she was actually doing what she was doing, instead of just putting it off me and telling it to the CEO that this is something that I think is happening, but I'm not even sure it's happening.
Okay.
So there were ways that I could do that, and I should have, because this is like a big deal, I should have been able to do this on my own and then come with a definitive answer and tell the client, hey, this is happening. Now the rest is like your choice, whatever you want to do with it. Right? So that is something that these little things you learn over time. You learn with your own experience and all. So yeah, it was a nice experience, and he gave me a lot of work. And when I say a lot of work, obviously it amounted to a lot of money as well, because now I was like, I worked with him for a year or so now I was like 18, 19, and making a full-time income.
What were you doing with that money?
I was, to be honest, not doing anything. It was just piling.
Dude, you're a really good child.
Yeah, I wasn't doing anything with it, to be honest. But that would eventually be the money that I would spend for my MBBS.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it saved up, and then I was able to spend it there. So yeah, that is an interesting time for me. That was, and
after this client went away, so when did you thought of starting off the YouTube channel, and when did this journey start? Was this after this thing?
It's after this, actually. I started my YouTube a year ago, and so it's actually a year after this point in the timeline.
Oh, so
My YouTube, yeah. So this was like 2019.
okay.
And so the next year I just kept working, building, finding new clients. By this time, the thing is, now I started acquiring experience of a lot of things that I had no idea about before. And that was, how do blogs run? First I was writing for blogs, right? So that's a different thing, because you are seeing things just from the outside and you're not inside the website, editing stuff, publishing it on the website, and seeing the content rank and get traffic from Google and all of that good stuff. That is actually the meaty portion of it. So I started learning all of this because I was practically doing it, and he gave me so much work, as I said, that I would be editing 100 articles in a month, and we were striving for 100, but I never actually ended up doing 100 because burnout, to be honest. I would do 80, maybe sometimes 70, sometimes 90, but we were always aiming for 100. Though I don't think we ever made the target. So it was like just the repetitions that I put into it, and just seeing these projects grow, and seeing this guy put in so much money, and it's like the amount of money that I made in 2 months, he spent it on one website in 1 month. And he, as I said, had like dozens of websites.
Oh.
And I was like, this dude has a boatload of money, and he continues to invest it so aggressively, and he's made so much wealth out of this process. That means it works, and I have this really amazing opportunity to be able to see it on the back end and be the first, like, be his right hand in the project. And so that actually gave me a lot of confidence, a lot of learning. I started understanding SEO, which is search engine optimization. I started understanding WordPress, which is a platform that is used to create websites. And so then I started finding other clients as well. And that's when I found the client that I'm currently working for as a content manager. He has a company in the UK. And so I found him. And so by this time, this was the first time in my life when I understood that I had bit off more than I could chew. And it's not possible for me to work in so many different places, but why I wanted to was that my income was all coming from one source. Not all, but pretty much most of it was coming from one source, which was this first client from the US. Or like the first guy who made me a content manager. And by this time I had a couple of other clients. One in the UK, as I said. I wasn't a content manager for him. I was just a normal content writer for him. But the problem was that 80-90% of my income was coming from this one client. And if that client went overnight, things are going to go south. And so from this guy who's making a full-time income, literally doing part-time work, I'd go to basically nothing. And so at that point, I decided that I need more work. I need to diversify and not put all my eggs in one basket, because when you start making money, you start to learn how to manage it as well. You start to learn some personal finance and stuff like that. And so you get to learn these small things about not putting all your eggs in one basket, which makes complete sense. And eventually what happened was that I bit off more than I could chew. The client didn't like that. He thought that I wasn't able to give as much as I should to the job and to the money that he was paying. And we eventually parted ways.
Oh.
And that was like...
your fear come true?
Yeah. That was the biggest fear that I had. That this client would go. Because always at the back of my mind, I thought, this guy is my lucky charm. Right? If he goes... I'm nothing. I found this really great guy who has a lot of money and who gives me a lot of money. And so when he went, I remember my father actually came to me to like console and say, it'll be okay, this is part of life, you'll find better opportunities, I'm sure. And the usual talk that you get. And but that was the best thing that actually happened to me.
Whoa.
That's the best thing that actually happened to me, because by the time I was done, I thought he was paying me a lot, right? I thought he was paying me a lot, but what I realized was what was more important was the experience that I had had. That ability to be able to run websites from the back. Now, whenever I went and tried to find more clients, people were more than willing to hire me for like double the amount of money that I used to charge a few months ago. And so, I started doing work on Upwork. That's a freelancing website that we've already discussed. And I started finding more clients, and within a day, I had found enough clients to be able to substitute my previous income.
Okay.
So the first month, there was actually a very small dip, because whenever you're starting off with new clients, it takes some time to kind of understand the client and for the client to understand you. And so things are a bit slow in the start, and then you get in the groove and they start working the way they're supposed to work.
Okay.
And so that was the case. The first month it went like, if this was my income, it went a bit like this. And then the next month it went back here. And that was so powerful for me to realize that, it's not just that client. It's that I've learned this skill, which is so valuable to these people that they're now hiring me, uh, like easily for more than I would have ever imagined. And so I just kept building on it. I kept improving my rates, increasing my rates over time. Ended up becoming the content manager for that company in the UK, and I still am. So yeah, by that time, uh, that's when I decided to create my YouTube channel, because that's that point where this story, if you've been following with the storyline, which is a huge story, so I apologize for it. But if you've been following by now, you would realize that this is the point where you realize, it's not luck. It's just that the skill has matured to a level where you're now an expert and you didn't even realize it.
That's true.
You just had your head down, you were putting in the hours, putting in the work, not even realizing the grind, and that this was actually going to be the moment where you find yourself to be this mini expert in the industry. And so I was like, I need to teach people, and I need to be able to put this out there. And also the fact that I was, by now 19, 20, 20 actually by now. And I was making more money than people with huge families did. And I'm super grateful for that. But it also comes with a level of guilt, because there are these people who are putting in the work, who deserve to be successful as much as I do. They deserve to have a better life. They deserve to have this life of being able to work from where you want, to be able to work on a skill that you enjoy. But it's just that they don't have that guidance. And I saw this very, very big difference in what people were teaching in the US, like US creators, and what were like Desi creators teaching. And I was like, this is a huge gap. And this is why our freelancing industry isn't able to compete at that level, and we have this negative tag attached to us. It's just what it is. We aren't that good. Like in a lot of things, especially in content writing, because we have this issue. It's not an issue, but it just is what it is, that we are not natives. And so we actually learn to write English. We learn to speak English. And that is an important factor, obviously. So, but it's still something that can be worked on and improved on, as I said. And I was like, I'll teach people how to do that. And most of my channel even doesn't revolve around writing per se, but it's more focused on like the marketing aspect of how do you find clients, how do you mature a client, how do you like grow to a content manager level, and what, like for example, I also teach blogging, so stuff about like the technical aspects of how does a blog run on the back end, because this was all the stuff that I learned over time. And so I'm putting it out there for people to learn, people who haven't had that lucky breakthrough of finding that big client. Like they could learn off of my experience instead of me just wasting people's time talking about ghar baithe paise kamaye, which is such a cringe line for me, and I absolutely hate it. And that's just what like Desi creators have been building on for ages now. And so the YouTube channel was actually just my my way of giving back to the community. And as I said, I say in every one of my videos, people who watch them would know that it always starts with, I'm Khalil and I'm on a mission to help 100,000 people make a living online. And that's actually a mission, that's a vision that I've been working on even before I started my YouTube channel. I actually started teaching people. I posted stuff in Facebook groups, in these freelancing Facebook groups. I wrote that ebook that you were talking about before I started YouTube, and I just gave it away for free to people. And so that was the time when barely 40 people had actually read the ebook, but I still had the same vision of helping 100,000 people make a living online. And you could actually go back and watch my old videos. And even at the time when I had like when I had like a few hundred subscribers, I used to say that
That's true.
because that was the vision.
Yeah.
And so that's what I started off with.
Yeah, and dude, what I also felt was back in Asia, like if you look at the content creators all in the Western world, that advices may not even work for us back in Asia. Like I feel the system is kind of different, and it doesn't feel like in reality it can be applied. And most of the videos I've seen with the freelancers, I feel it's more like a motivational video rather than a actual content video.
That is true. That is true. That's something that I say a lot because, I obviously have, I create content. There's some free content. There's also paid content like the paid course. So that goes like a couple of steps ahead. And a lot of people have advised me, like given me a business advice that I should actually create content in English. Like we are having this podcast in English right now, and I think I'm doing fine. But
great, man. I'm regretting about my English.
I mean, you're doing fantastic right now.
Thanks,
so
man.
the thing is that a lot of people are like, why don't you create content in English, and then you could also teach people who live in stronger economies, and they could pay you more. But the thing is, this is what I tell everyone: what works for them does not work for us,
Yeah.
and what works for us does not work for them, because there are basic differences in how the markets work, and there are also basic differences in where we stand right now in our freelancing community and where they stand right now. Because I took a few courses of these Western creators, and all of them, each and every single course talked about having a freelance portfolio website. Right? In our region, almost no one has a freelance portfolio website. I feel like I'm the first Desi giving tutorials on YouTube about how to create a freelance portfolio website, what to add in it, what are the things, like how do you create the sales page, how do you go about it. And it's something that we go into real detail in the paid course as well. So I feel like I'm like the only one talking about it, and even after that, very few people actually do make the website, which is weird because there are thousands of views on those videos. We have so many students, hundreds of students in the course, and just a fraction of them actually do end up making the portfolio website, which is appalling. But it's just a cultural difference, I believe. And what I've noticed a lot as well, especially here in this part of the world, we talk a lot about not spending money on something if you could do it for free. That's just kind of an ingrained thing within us. We'll watch pirated films because why pay for the film when you can just download it from torrent. We use pirated software. If we can build a free website, we always go with the free website and almost never create a professional website. But this is a contrast that I found with these developed freelancing, communities, that they were like, when they decide, all right, I'm going to do something professionally, they go ahead and do it professionally. Obviously, there are a lot of other factors to consider here, right? Our economies aren't as strong as their economies, and so for somebody living there, for that person to spend $60 on creating a website is a small deal.
And dude, even if you see our standard of education or our way we are ingrained is to get a stable job, have a set career, you need someone to guide you. Freelance is kind of like an entrepreneur where you are your own boss and you have to figure out your own stuff. You have to take the responsibility. I feel that is not ingrained. Like, I guess right now people are getting out, like you or me, like there are many people who want to do freelancing, but back then you started, even I wasn't starting at that time. So like, I guess there are many less creators, man. You're like one of those that I would follow, like I saw, and then ask you.
Anirudh, the thing is, even now, a lot of people are like, they come to my channel and they say, please create this video in which you teach this very specific thing. And I'm like, dude, you can do that by yourself. Like it's not that difficult for example, people would want me to show them. I was making a recent video in my blogging playlist. It was about affiliate marketing, and so I was talking about the Amazon affiliate program, and I told them
Yeah.
that this link to sign up for the affiliate program will be at the bottom, and I told them this is this. I kind of gave them a verbal description of this is the sort of form that you will see, and these are the type of questions. And I just mentioned it's nothing too fancy. Everybody gets through. And some people were like, why don't you fill out the form and show it to us?
Damn.
Why would I want to waste your time with that? I'm here to make sure you get the best possible outcome, like for the time input that you're giving here. And so I respect your time enough to just leave it on you that you will be able to do it. But I feel like it's something like spoon feeding is something that is a bigger issue here in this part of the world.
That's true.
I'm in a way trying to eradicate that through my content as well. My content, a lot of people say that my content is very beginner friendly, and that is something that I have intentionally tried to do. But the idea is if I'm starting off with spoon feeding you, literally spoon feeding you, teaching you how to research for a blog post, then showing you this is the blog post that I wrote after research. All right, this is the next thing. How do you get an international payment if you need it? How do you negotiate? How do you like these
Dude.
very little things? Like if I'm teaching you this, eventually the idea is that I want to push you ahead to more kind of master level concepts. So that is something that I think has really helped my channel as well, because a lot of people I feel like have discovered freelancing through my content because I made that beginner friendly content.
True.
But it's also important to be able to scale it up then, because you can't be stuck.
Yeah.
You need to learn, you need to grow. And people who have that ability to I always say somebody who knows, like, this is the, if anybody was like, Khalil, tell us what skills should we focus on, or what are the hot skills right now in 2021 now almost. I would say the first skill, the most important skill that anybody should learn in 2021 is how to use Google. Trust me, if you know how to use Google, your life is gonna be so much easier.
It's done.
You're gonna learn everything yourself after that. People don't know how to use basic Google. Like, they'll be asking me this stuff and I'll be like, why don't you Google? And it's not like it's like a moment of revelation. Oh, Google.
Dude, you made one video, right? How to write an article where you open like 5 or 6 sites and you told that don't copy it.
5 and 6 sites. I showed the whole process. I literally copy like points, write them in a separate document. I show them, alright.
You did
in
that.
Next video, I highlight stuff like, alright, this is something that I used in the article. I highlighted this in red because I didn't use the article, and I show that to them because I want to be able to create as in detail and beginner friendly content as I can for a topic that is like supposed to be a beginner level topic. But I mean, if you're able to use basic Google, there's very little that you won't be able to find in the world. There's very little that you won't be able to find an answer to, because the answers are already out there. 95% of the questions that you ask, the answers are already out there. You just need to be able to find them in a better way.
Yeah, dude. So, even like when I was watching your content, right, one thing that I really understood is, dude, like, the way you take the video forward, right, it probably connects more with the Asian audience, not even Asian, like anyone who watches it, like, I don't know why, how can a person ask even more detail than that? It automatically feels like spoon feeding. Honestly.
Like, trust me, like even the videos that we are talking about, I got questions from people asking, how did you add links in the article, like those clickable links, which we call hyperlinks basically. They didn't know what hyperlinks are, or like there's this terminology for it called hyperlinks. But I mean, if you just literally Google how to add a link in MS Word, you'll know the answer. It's that simple. I mean, I'm not expecting, because obviously everybody doesn't have the same IT background, and so I don't judge you if you don't know how to add a link in an article.
Yeah.
But the fact is, you don't need to ask a person that and wait until that person answers and then be like, I would have been a great freelance writer. The only problem is this guy didn't tell me how to add a link.
I saw it in the comments. Like I looked at your comments. There were these questions. I followed all the steps, Khalil. I didn't know what.
I mean, I'm glad you at least like put in the research and watched my content. But
Yeah. Dude, I even I read the book, right? It actually felt like I really want to read your first book too.
I will send you the link.
Yeah.
That is only for you.
Sure. I'm gonna ask you for a Hindi podcast future when I will get actually used to this video thing, because it's the first podcast I'm releasing. So like once I get used to it, we'll again do a Hindi episode. And if you don't say yes, that will be out, dude. The PDF.
I am down for it.
Yeah. So yeah, and even when I read your book, right, how to become a freelance writer, what I actually felt I could resonate with you, like at the place where you told that put on your drop, the marks of yourself, or send a screenshot so that you won't get frauded or something like that. It was actually a very useful step. And when an Asian, like when we write it, like when this part of the world write it, it is easy to relate. And when we read books like Think and Grow Rich, or Dave Ramsey book, like even you made a video, right, status, like you read that book and gave a review about it. I also felt the same thing, that when I read your book, it was able to relate to.
Yeah,
that was true.
Yeah, so I mean, there are basic differences. We've already discussed that there are basic differences, and so even though it may be more profitable for me as a business standpoint, to be able to create content for the West, and I did create English videos. Like if you watch the first few videos that I put out, I think the first 8 or 9 videos are actually in English. But then I realized that I'm not able to connect with the audience the way I want to connect. And so then I started creating Urdu content, or like Urdu Hindi, basically the same thing. So I started creating Hindi content after that. And that was just able to, I was creating content for a different audience when I started, and after that point, when I switched to Urdu or Hindi, I realized what my target audience was. And so if you actually watch the first few videos, you realize that the stuff that I'm talking about is different. The techniques that I'm talking about is different. The amounts that I'm talking about are different, because that's a different audience at that time that I had in my mind. And basically there was no audience. I was creating content for nobody right now.
How many subscribers did you initially had?
I think I had about 80, 100 probably. I didn't have like 80 or 100 subscribers at the time. And these were people who, as I told you, that I was publishing some stuff on Facebook, like in Facebook groups, and I had created that ebook, like the first draft of it, and I had sent it to people. And so these were actually those people in those Facebook groups, that the ones that got in touch with me after that. So I sent, when I created the YouTube channel, I sent them the link. Hey, I will be publishing more content and more in-depth content, video-based content here on YouTube. If you're interested, you can hop on over and subscribe. So I never sent it to any one of my friends.
Same thing here. I did not do for my podcast too.
That's actually better. I would recommend that to everyone. Especially if you're not in like the entertainment kind of niche, I wouldn't recommend asking your friends to subscribe, because those are fake followers. Not fake followers, but they're fluff. Right? They're never gonna watch your content if your content is it's like an educational kind of channel like mine. They're never gonna watch it, and you shouldn't expect them to watch it because they're not interested in it. So you need to be able to find people who are actually interested in what you have to say. And so those people, I wouldn't say they were 80 or 100 is still a lot more than many people would have, but these 80 or 100 people were like actually didn't watch a lot of my videos, to be honest. And I would have 30 views, sometimes I would have 50. I used to have 50 in the start, I remember. and then it dropped down to 30 or 20 till a point where the last video that I posted before my channel kind of blew up, that video I remember got, I think, less than 10 views.
Wow.
And so that's the point where I was like, this is not working out. So, let's take a break. And when I took the break, meanwhile, one video started going really well and it just shot up like that and stats went crazy, and then the people came flooding in, and then I started creating more content. And yeah, but what I was saying was I started with a different audience, and then when I changed my language to Hindi or Urdu, then I started creating content for people in this area. So you notice that the content type changes as well as soon as the language changes, because now I was crystal clear on who my target audience is. First I was not clear. It was a weird mix between somebody in the US and somebody in India or Pakistan, and that just didn't resonate with anyone. In marketing we always talk about this stuff. The stuff that is for everyone is basically for no one. And so your product actually needs to be for a very specific niche audience. A lot of people even talk about, like, you have a channel, like they say to me, you have a channel that is so specific on freelance content writing. Like now I also talk about blogging because that's kind of an extension, like the next step of freelance writing, I believe. But I mean, they're like this, it's so specific, and it's crazy to think that such a niche channel would be able to grow so fast to this level. And I wouldn't ever be able to replicate it, because there is a sheer amount of luck here as well, obviously, because of some videos performing really well and helping me reach the target audience that I was hoping for.
It's insane, man.
But but at the same time, it's like, because it is specific and it is I know who I'm creating content for, I feel like it helps in that manner.
That's true. And even like, dude, all the way from 100, like right now, how many you have? More than 1 lakh, right?
It's 1,25,000 right now.
Damn. it's insane subscribers.
I mean, I would never have imagined that, to be honest. When I started off, I did some market research and I was like, who are my competitors? So there's this YouTube channel who has, I think, 40,000 subscribers now. At that time they had like 22, 3, and I was like, okay, so this is the ceiling, because like this woman, she's the queen of freelance writing right now. And so this is the ceiling. I can never expect myself to grow beyond this point, because she's been doing this for so much time and she's doing fantastic. So
who is that?
I just went at it. I'm not sure if I should take names.
Okay, dude.
But I mean, she's not from here anyway, so she's not my competitor at all, because she has a different target audience. But I think it's okay to name her. Her name is her channel is Jordan McKell. I'm not sure if you know about it, but in freelance content writing, her content is really good. And if you search the main keywords, now you may see a few of my videos pop up as well. But at the time when I did it, she was basically everywhere, and she was the biggest freelance content writer.
Does she has a podcast? I think she does.
I'm not sure. I actually don't think she's been creating a lot of content recently. I think she has. I'm not sure. I haven't been up to date with her stuff, but I haven't seen her create a lot more videos recently.
Okay, dude. Got it. Yeah, we got carried away. The ceiling. But I feel you crossed her very well.
Yeah, I mean, I would actually attribute that to like a completely different market, to be honest. If I was going after the market that she has in mind, that would be a different story.
Yeah, man.
One thing that we have a big benefit as Desi creators is our population is huge, right? So you combine Pakistan and India, it's a sea, an ocean of people basically. And that may feel like, you're creating content that is in a language that most geographies in the world won't understand. Still, like the sheer number of people is insane. Number one. Number two, there's not a lot of competition right now.
Yeah.
I don't know how many content creators would be seeing us, but I mean, there's substandard content plastered all over,
Yeah.
like they see YouTube. So anyone with a bit of experience in anything
Yeah.
could create a decent YouTube channel and create a personal brand out of it, I believe. And so I think it's like it's comparing apples to oranges.
That's true, man. And okay, like right now let's talk about, like, let's do a case study of a person who wants to start freelancing. Like, if I want to start freelance, like for example, I'm starting off, the only skill I have is like to write better, because like at 18 or 19, right, people, what would they know?
That's perfect.
That they know how to write better, and since you're an expert in that, like, we can talk about it. So what should I do at first?
Right. So if you just want to start out, you're like,
Yeah.
I have this basic skill that I can write.
Yeah.
It could be that you're a very good writer, and it could also be that you're not a particularly great writer, but your English is good enough that you don't make grammatical errors.
Yeah.
Like your writing makes complete sense.
Yeah. You
And
can
it is in
install
perfect
Grammarly later
Yeah,
on.
I mean it is in perfect English, and so basically, as I said, it's like Grammarly aside, even if you don't use Grammarly, once you put in the repetitions, it will improve.
Yeah. Got it.
But the thing is, what you can't do is learn a language to this extent that you used to suck at it first, and now you're a professional writer in it. Because
Yeah.
being a writer is a different thing. You could suck at the language first and then become
Yeah.
good at it, but the chances of you becoming a writer in it are still low.
Yeah.
And so if you're like, you're watching this podcast or you're listening to this podcast, and every word that we're saying makes complete sense to you, and you could speak like we're speaking right now,
Yeah.
you could become a content writer. This is the level of English, because it's important. A lot of people are like, what is the level of English that we need to be at? And there are no levels. How could I give you a level in a numerical value? But this is the easiest and simplest explanation of what I could give. So, excuse me. So yeah, what you need to do is, first and foremost, start writing. Like it could be anything. As I said, in my case, it was like fiction. So I started writing fiction, and I wrote 60,000 words, and those 60,000 words just took me to another level in writing. And obviously I improved tremendously in the coming years, but it still put me way ahead of the game. I'm not telling people to go and write 60,000 words. You could just write 6,000 words.
Yeah.
But I mean, just start writing, right? So the first thing that you want to do is get used to writing. First thing. Second, if you're already writing, then you don't need to do this, because a lot of people do write, and they like me, were fond of writing and reading. So in that case, you may not need to put in this work.
Yeah.
After that, what you need to do is you need to create a couple of blog post samples. Blog post samples are basically 2 Word documents of blog posts that you have written on any topic that you would like. A lot of people are confused about like what topic should I choose. It could, as I said in the start of this podcast, be whichever blog post you read last time you read anything, or you could just go with topics like how to cool a gaming laptop.
What are you comfortable with?
Yeah, whatever you're comfortable with. It could be anything. How to cool a gaming laptop.
Yeah.
3 best dog breeds for children. For women, something in like if you're into like beauty and beauty products and all, like antioxidizing, I don't know, blah blah blah. It could be anything that you want to write. The basic idea is it needs to be a blog post, right? So write a couple of blog posts. And why should it be a blog post? Content writing isn't just about writing blog posts, but most of the work that you are going to find in the beginning especially, are going to be blog posts. And so this is your staple work. So writing 2 samples will help you approach people now.
Yeah.
So what you're doing right now is you are gathering all the stuff you need to be able to pitch your services to a potential employer.
Yeah.
So you write 2 blog posts. I do have very detailed, as we've talked about, videos on my channel that explain the process. Then after that, what you want to do is you want to join freelancing Facebook groups, right?
Yeah.
Go to Facebook, search content writers and content writing jobs, content writer jobs, stuff like that. You know, I work from home, and you know, remote work, remote workers, and you know, search all these groups, join as many as you can. I'm going to tell this to you up front. A lot of these are going to be useless, right? And you are going to join a lot of groups that you will eventually leave because they aren't moderated. You'll see a lot of spam, you'll see a lot of irrelevant stuff there as well. The only way to really know which Facebook group is worth your time is to join it. You can't ever tell the content inside a Facebook group until you have been inside it. So it's better to join it first. Unless, I mean, you could tell that if the privacy settings are that way, but mostly that's not going to be the case. So you want to join as many as you can, so you have like a big pool of job posts. So these Facebook groups, sometimes they have 3 jobs posted a day, sometimes they have like 10 jobs, 15 jobs, 20 jobs posted in a day. Depends on the size of the group and the time of the year. But what you want to do is join as many as you can. And then you have a huge pool of jobs to apply to. Now what you need to do is you need to start applying to jobs, and for that you already have 2 samples, but what you need on top of these 2 samples is a job proposal. And you could call it cover letter, a job proposal, whatever you want to. So what you need to do is write that job proposal. Again, there are detailed videos on all of these steps on my channel.
Let's go through the overlay, dude, because I'm sure everything has a detailed video in your channel.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just you basically trying to convince the client to hire you.
Yeah.
So that's a job proposal. So you have a job proposal, you have 2 samples.
Yeah.
You approach people with it. In my experience, most people that start, the ratio that they'll see would be somewhere like they'll apply to 20 jobs and they'll hear back from 1. I'm not saying 1 would hire you, I'm saying 1 would get back to you. They may not eventually hire you. Why am I putting this out there? Because if you're gonna survive in this industry, you need to be able to take rejection, and so I'm mentally preparing you to be able to take that rejection. So you know, just go and apply, put in the repetitions, put in the reps, and you know, this, statistically speaking, will eventually help you find that one person who will give you the chance. And once you get that chance, you'll get more samples. So now you've written professionally for a person, you can use that sample for future clients as well. And so you can build upon it, you can improve, you can learn, and then you can, you know, you can in the future transition to like a freelancing website,
like Upwork, Fiverr.
These are the marketplaces where the pros are at. So you may eventually want to go there and start. And then there are a lot of different things that you could do. You could go into you could create your personal brand and you know, on social media try to find clients. You could network on LinkedIn, you could do cold emailing, you could do ads. There's so much that you could do, but the reason why I don't recommend people to start off with it is because they get intimidated by all of this. And so this is the simplest explanation that I could give. This is not the only way to do it, and this is certainly not the right way to do it. It is one way that I recommend most people to do.
That's true. Even when I told you, dude, like at starting I told, right, the experience I had with my friend, that's what happened. Like initially, like when you're trying for a job or anything, when you tell that I'm ready to do it for a less cost, like I don't take much payment, or you try to do it for free also. She was hired as a Instagram, like she has to make creatives for them. And like she did like a very amazing job, and they were like, they had a digital marketing agency with them. So they do have clients, right? They recommended those clients to her, and she started getting
referrals.
Yeah.
Referrals are a great way to get.
Yeah, man. Like 5,000 she used to get at starting, and now she's getting like 3,000 again. And in the same way, she's just making like not just she's making creatives, and like she for every creative like 30 posts or 40 posts every month, which makes her to do 2 posts a day, and she's earning around like 8,000 to 10,000 a month. And she just started off like 2 months back.
That is great, and that shows you the power of being open and willing to put in the work. As I said,
Yeah.
it all really comes down to that, to be honest.
Yeah, dude. Like even when we were hiring people, one thing that we actually notice is that we do get a lot of applicants, right? We do give like few questions and what portfolio they give. We got like very huge digital marketing, like the team. They were just applying to us, telling that I did this course from Upgrad and this and that. But in all this jazz, we got a mail, and like we got a mail where they actually gave us a proposal that your company is this, what you need to do is this, and they told that what can I do for you. And literally he told stuff that we already know, but the way he gave us the PDF having our name at top and all that stuff, that one eliminated like 200 to 250 applicants, because it felt that this one was researched and those were just like one of many companies they were applying, and we hired that person.
You know what they say, go the extra mile, it's never crowded there.
Yeah.
So that guy went the extra mile and it wasn't crowded there at all.
Yeah, and dude, I'm telling you, startups, the best thing about startup is not the company but the founder. Like the people, you will be in the initial team, so they will give you as many referrals as they can, and when you try to give free advice, free stuff, they are going to come their way to help you out, and you will be in a great way set. And yeah, man, I had this doubt, like I wanted to ask you, what is about the course that you have students about, like what is that journey going on? When did you start it?
I started the course in I think it was July this year. It went on pre-order in July, and I think it was released on August. Yeah, in August. So that's when we released the course, and so it's called CWC, Content Writing Catalyst.
Yeah.
So the idea of the course is that I help people market themselves as freelancers. So it goes into these really advanced techniques of how can you find better work. And so, all of these things like a job proposal and all, I have like separate 20-minute classes on like a single paragraph in the job proposal, explaining you all the science and all the psychology and all the copywriting techniques of how you can do that. Then there's like you get my own job proposals, basically, like you get these templates within the course, and then there are detailed classes on like creating your freelance portfolio website down to like every single page. What is the copy that you need to write? How will you write the sales sequence? How will you position it? What theme should you choose? And recommended themes, obviously there's a wide array that you could choose. And basically going into all these advanced techniques, and then these big platforms, going into detail on them, how to grow, because I'm a top rated freelancer on Upwork. So I don't really like to work on Upwork, which is a completely separate discussion in itself. Most of my work is outside of the platform through direct contacts. But I am top rated on Upwork, been top rated for over a year now. And so, I teach people how was I able to do that, and I teach them how to scale their business. So it's that sort of a course. It's content writing catalyst, so it doesn't teach you content writing per se. It teaches you how to market yourself as a content writer. And the reason why we call it catalyst is the stuff that you could actually eventually learn in like a year or 2 years. We just give it to you and you will be ready in a month. So it's a catalyst. It increases the rate of the process, basically.
Wow. So all your learnings from the moment you wrote that 60,000 word book to right now, everything is made into that course.
It's all in that course with with insane content. Because here's the thing, it's not just about like whenever you are a content creator, you would get it. Whenever we're creating content, right, we have to look at a lot of different things. We have to look at, all right, I'm going to create content on this topic. Is anybody going to see this? Are people actively looking for this? Because you're working for a different audience there. It's an open audience. It's like you're going out into the ground and you have to, like, there are like thousands of people, and you have to attract those people towards you, right? And so and then there are like a million other people just like you who are trying to attract those same people. So that's a different kind of audience. In this type of situation where somebody has bought a course, is in a closed community, has spent money and said, I want to learn this, that is a different kind of audience, right? It's like a closed group of people, like it's a room where people decided that they want to be in the room. And so now you don't really need to attract them anymore towards you. You don't need to create this content that these people are searching for. You can actually create the content that these people didn't know they needed. Like if you actually went and shout the same thing outside in those thousands and millions of people, they would have never heard you. But now you have the opportunity and the ability to do that, because this is a different animal in itself. This closed community thing is a different thing. And so in the course, we are able to go into things that if I would create a YouTube video on, nobody would watch. But these are the things that, like, the actual pro things that need to be learned if you want to scale to the level that I have. I'm not saying you wouldn't be able to do that if you don't, but it's just something that has really helped me. And I mean, there are a lot of content writers out there, right? And when we say content writing, people don't particularly think it's the most highest paying job out there.
True.
This is like this course and even all of my content that is out there. It is like my effort to explain to you why I am able to make the money that I am, and why others who are equally as good as me, at times better than me, why aren't they able to make that amount of money? It's all about your positioning, your professionalism. It's all about how you're able to present yourself as a professional. And that's what the course is all about.
Yeah, man. I just have one word, dude. Like the content that I can see in the YouTube channel itself is like an insane, realistic content. It means if they're paying for you, I can imagine the level of effort and how much output they can actually get.
I mean, I've tried my level best that we can, because the thing is, if you're getting really high quality free content, then the paid content needs to be even better.
Yeah, that's
right?
what.
So that course, I spent a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of time in creating that course, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, actually.
Yeah, of course, dude. Because like the effort that you put in, like the time when you started out, dude, like 16 writing a book, insane. I used to write like stupid captions in my Facebook posts. You wrote a book. It's insane, dude. Like I can understand the level of, the subject or the content that you could put in that course, and I recommend anyone to buy it. Because the moment I look at your YouTube videos, because I've been watching, I've binged on YouTube videos, I look at the freelance stuff. But since I am also a content creator, and I do know, like I have been like right now I'm working like 3 different companies, so I know what actually is real and what is not, that doesn't really work out. But when I looked at your content, when you told that, that's all about the extra advice you give, the professionalism, the word you spoke. There are times when I spoke to like even my partner who spoke to like digital marketers, and since we are like 20 or like 21, they were like yaar and stuff. And
yeah, exactly. Oh god, I hate that. I absolutely hate when people do that.
Yeah, man. Like the thing is, the frame that we are operating, like the first call you got on with me, how can you like, of course it's cool, like you should have some friendship between, but there is after some time, after some rapport, you can get along that. But what you told, everything, like I could relate to it, and I can actually tell it, because as a startup, whenever we hire, like being a part of like 2 companies, and one company where I did internship, that was like established 4 years company. So what you told was exactly true. Like what we look for an applicants is the talent, or the new ideas, the creativity, and the way you told, right? I'm just telling you this upfront, and the way you conveyed it to the content, the blog where you were a manager of, that's really important. Because there were times when people would come to us and tell that we have an online store, they would be like, the prices are kind of high. at that point of time, you really could get messed up because the reason it's high is because
they don't know the target audience that you're after.
Yeah.
Right?
They don't
there
know.
could be a wide array of reasons why you have high prices.
Yeah.
That's not really, obviously you cut down the prices, you start working on volumes, and so the volumes go up.
Yeah.
This is a completely different discussion actually, but recently there was this company that we were having a discussion, and they were talking about this stuff, like, they want to create products, they want to create them at this XYZ lower price so that more people can buy it. And I explained to them the dynamics of how if there's a premium product and less people are buying it, that's actually better, because there are lesser logistics to deal with, there's lesser amount of effort that you have to put into like everything, versus where you have a cheap product, not a cheap product, but a product that costs less. More people are buying it, and so there's more customer service that needs to be done. There are more parcels that need to be shipped.
Dude, cost price, dude. Like, we have to pay the taxes, we have to pay for the website, hosting and everything, the moment, and we have to pay the salaries. And that's the reason the point I'm trying to tell is the way we convey it in a professional and also way that I'm just bringing out to this. When a person does that in that way, the partner or the management would see that this guy is professional and this person is telling me in a way that they want to be heard, and they are putting an extra effort. That's get noticed, and I'm pretty sure that they would easily be in the higher positions, dude. So, like, I think
I think the audio just messed up a bit. I'm not sure if it's on my end or yours.
I guess, dude, it's fine.
No,
like,
it's fine now.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I could see the audio thing in my too. It's fine.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah. So
I mean, it was on your end, so if it looks fine, it looks fine. So yeah.
Yeah. So we had like insane, right? We spoke a lot about different stuff. The way
I like this is why I have whatever. When I start speaking, I really have to look down at the clock and be like, oh wow, this is how much time it has been since I've been speaking. But, I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
I had a lot of fun actually.
Yeah, me too, man. Same here. And anyone, like, I would leave all your handles below in the description and everywhere. And I guess all my subscribers, like, they're not many, but still, I would actually want everyone to go
Hey, the thing is, when I just told you, when I started, I had no subscribers.
Yeah.
I mean, I did have subscribers. I had a few, but nobody really watched those videos.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm sure if you keep creating the content that you're creating and stay true to it, I'm sure you will find great success in the future. And then people will come back here on this show, and they'll be like, Khalil came here on the first episode.
Yeah.
And, maybe I'll be remembered as the guy who came on the first episode of this big, gigantic show.
Thanks, man. Even my plan was that even though Khalil becomes famous, the first podcast, the video podcast at least he did was in Talk of Thought, so automatically I would get famous.
I mean, I don't know if I'm famous or something, but I hope that whatever people who follow me would eventually come and find this podcast. I'm sure the content that you have planned out is fantastic.
Thanks, man. Like, even like the reason that I really like you, the reason I really like your content, and in this less time I was able to resonate and I was able to talk to you was because first thing is you're being consistent, dude. Like, when you told that right from the start, you wrote a book, and then even people told that it's 5 on 10, and still you are ready to maintain that craft. 60,000 words, people just leave it on like the first 2 try.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen. Like, you have to keep trying, because like if you try for 4 years, like you have been trying for like 4 or 5 years, and now you're making a very decent amount and still you're studying. So I get the consistency and the way of professionalism, or like the way you talk, everything is pretty charismatic. So
thanks, man.
Thanks.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, so I guess you would really grow, dude. And yeah, that's all I have. And thanks for coming in the podcast. Hope we will do more episodes. And I'm telling you, if we don't come, I have the book that you're going to send me that will be out in public.
I will for sure try my best to make time for that podcast.
Yeah, we will do it in Hindi. Like, we just made plan. It's on recording. It will go. And And everyone who
Right.
came, thanks for watching. We made like more than 2 hours, dude. Like, yeah, 2 hours we made a podcast.
Oh wow, that is a lot of time. If like listen to me. If you're still watching, you dude, you need a like. No, we really appreciate jokes aside. We really appreciate you watching for like 2 hours. And I hope that the content that we've created was helpful for you.
Yeah, man, of course. Thanks for coming, dude. Like, thanks, Khalil, for doing this. And thanks, everyone, for watching. And, like, I do know, like, I have interrupted you way too many times. And sorry for that. I'm telling you.
It's like the thing is, I detrack a lot, so I
Yeah.
need a person who can tell, hey, this is what we're talking about. Come back.
No, people are here to listen to you. Like, I mean, like, stopping. Dude, let me tell you. When I started the podcast, the only thing my friends told me was, dude, you only talk. You don't let the opposite person talk. How can you do this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
being a host is difficult, especially when like for a person like me who's used to speaking on his channel. A lot of times I think about starting a podcast and all, and a lot of people have been saying that to me as well. It's just that I don't have that much time to be able to create a new project right now.
Yeah.
And so I want to make sure that I can like create a lot of episodes and then put them out there,
Yeah.
and not stop in the middle. And so that's why I haven't been doing it. But I feel like for a person like me, it's gonna be very difficult, as you said, because you have to just ask the right question, and oftentimes you let the other person speak for a very long time
Yeah.
and without interrupting and all.
Yeah.
And I mean, but I think you did a fantastic job.
Thanks, man. I'm like, dude, the only thing I could tell you that if you want to start a podcast, it would be really good. Like, dude, come on, man. You will do an insane good job. So we have made 2 announcements. You're gonna come to my second Hindi podcast too, and you're gonna start a podcast. And hope I will be a guest at one point of time in that podcast.
Yeah,
And-
yeah. I mean, definitely, man.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah.
For sure.
I'm just making this up, and this will be on live, so that in future you can't say no. Yeah, man. Thanks for and everyone. Thanks for watching, and thanks for coming, dude. Like, thanks.